welcome to another week in advance. How are you doing tonight, Christopher?
Doing great. How about you, David?
Doing good. Things are moving along. I feel like they're moving. We're coming off all this energy. I don't know. This is just a crazy time. It can pull you in every direction. We're coming off a full moon in Sagittarius and Gemini, which can sometimes our energy get scattered all over the place.
Yeah, it definitely is a fact, although I've noticed this full moon seems to be somewhat benign. I'm not noticing a huge amount of angst, and nobody seems to be, throwing themselves off of a cliff or out of a window ledge. So that's
a good thing.
And it does seem like it has the effect of pulling up a lot of very subtle kind of happy vibes. I noticed even with my dreams the last 3 or 4 days, the dream cycle seems to have spiked with this full moon, and but the dreams were very creative and upbeat, and so I would say that if you're having a rough ride with this full moon, you must be doing something seriously wrong. You want to do a little self-investigation, look inwards, because the universe is being very supportive right now.
I would have to agree with you with that, especially the dream stuff. I've had some really powerful dreams and good dreams too. And then, yeah, that is full moon in Sagittarius. It is the most jolly of the full moons. Also, as well, it is very positively aspected. There's not many hard aspects to it. I mean, we are finishing off, as we do come into this weekend, this Venus opposed Saturn energy, which is really, I think, kind of a responsibility that we all have to take, and whether you look at it in relationships or things we're manifesting or our worth. But, Venus and Saturn, when they work together and they come out of this opposition and you look at both sides, you can really be at a good place to manifest now, know your truth, really start to step into things really well. So I think that people are looking at a lot of decisions in their life, a lot of things to process and move forward with. I think Venus and Saturn want to do something with the manifesting, and I think we're coming out of this weekend ready to do something, especially a moon coming into Capricorn for the weekend. I think there's a lot to do.
There absolutely is, and the interesting thing with this opposition, Venus-Saturn opposition, is that Saturn is in actual fact moving backwards, and whenever it's in retrograde like that, it's drawing a lot of the energy inwards. So we're not seeing a real huge amount of confrontational energy in the opposition. If both planets were advancing forward and Venus were hitting that opposition point, you might see a little more angst-laden things arriving on your doorstep. But this, like you said, it has a very benign and very positive vibe. We've got nice positioning of the moon, because it'll be, first conjuncting Pluto, and then it'll be kind of free of, this last cycle. I think that's when it really breaks through, because whenever we have a full moon, that's the fruition point, and then we'll have a waning moon, and it will be waning in Capricorn, conjuncting Pluto, and then trining Venus, and interacting nicely in a sextile to Saturn. So very benevolent kind of aspects, nothing horrific that we have to stop and address.
Yeah, I think it's a little different than what we're used to. We're so used to some big transformational change and these big aspects happening. And really, this weekend, the moon does come on Pluto, which can be a little intense, but I think there's a lot around this intensity of digging deep and, what our plans are, what we want. We are finishing up the Sun in Gemini. We're on the last week of that. So, we're getting closer to maybe some of the answers that we've been trying to find in our life. The moon in Capricorn this weekend gives us the ability to dig our hooves in and maybe take some action towards those plans. Plus, Mars is coming off a big square to Pluto, which can be very intense, very powerful and dynamic as far as taking some actions in our life, especially towards that Pluto and Capricorn, which is whether it's a plan or a destiny. And Mars has been, squaring this in Libra, which there's been a lot to weigh out. We had a Mercury retrograde happen last week, so there's still all these questions. But I think this weekend, that moon on Pluto might give some sort of easier ability in ourselves to take some sort of direction, to take some sort of path. And Venus coming off Saturn, it like lightens the load up a little bit and lets Venus really come into this nice kind of more warm pastures. And so I think there's a lot of good energy coming through this weekend, and a lot of dynamic change I think we've gone through, that this is a nice little break.
It definitely is. We're also seeing some relief come in with Jupiter. Jupiter is finally really accelerating now as it's moving through the final phase of Cancer and getting ready to advance into Leo. So with that action, I think that we're going to be able to really finalize a lot of the somewhat confrontational energies when it was in opposition to Pluto, and we're resolving a lot of stuff when it was squaring Uranus, and so a lot of the hard dynamic really is kind of leveling out now. And I think Jupiter is really starting to get ready to expand and to flex itself in that final phase of Cancer before it actually flops over into Leo as we move, more into the summer. So it is going to be, I think, a nice period here, the next 3 or 4 weeks of expansion, especially in the home. A lot of the nurturing energy really being able to manifest without restriction or interference now. A lot of the watery energy in general is going to be kind of coming up to that point where it's no longer feeling as dark or as subliminal. What am I doing? I don't know what my agenda is, that sort of thing. We're seeing all of this stuff now break up and move forward.
A lot of breaking up, and that Jupiter description is great because this is things starting to open up, and it's looking at our feelings. It's looking at also Cancer always to me is the root. It is the bottom of our chart in astrology. So there's this looking at if we're rooting our emotions in the right place, especially as we're finishing up this Gemini, all these questions. And I think as we're going to step into the week here, there's going to be a lot of good energy. We've got the moon going to be going through Aquarius and nice trines over to Mars and Libra, over to Gemini. So I think there's a lot of good intellectual energy, maybe some great epiphanies that come this week. The freedom kind of allows us, this moon in Aquarius will allow us to kind of maybe project ourselves into some new placements or disconnect from some energy that maybe we've needed to disconnect from. And then moving forward, if we want to do some kind of fun astrology, because there really isn't like these dynamic, crazy alignments happening, Mars does go to the position to where the cardinal cross happens. So maybe there might be some triggers that maybe you're going to hump over of maybe some events that have happened in April when we had these cardinal crosses. Maybe you'll finally move past some of those issues. Maybe there's been some issues that have been lingering around for a couple months that you finally step over. This could be one of those weeks where, especially with the moon in Aquarius, that freedom can come. So I really think there's a lot nicely building for the week coming up here. On top of all that, we have the Sun and Mercury, which are getting ready as Mercury is about to dip into Gemini again. And I think we're going to feel more of this Mercury retrograde this week. When Mercury comes back into Gemini, it conjuncts the Sun, gets close. There's some sort of message or some sort of clarity that we're trying to come close to. And I think it's funny that Mars comes back to 13 degrees where it was at the cardinal cross, and it gets ready for its big opposition to Uranus here, which could start to stimulate some unique things, maybe some unpredictable things, all while the Sun and Mercury are getting close here. There's definitely some sort of clarity coming this week, a lot of trying to answer some questions and, just maybe even expressing herself. Mercury is going to now be retrograde in Gemini, so maybe there's some things that we forgot to mention or some things that we forgot to think about that we need to let out now.
Exactly. And I think we're going to definitely see Mercury, when it is back in Gemini, it's going to bring back some old, unfinished conversation, some old dialogue. I noticed that whenever Mercury does go retrograde, wherever it's retrograde in the chart, I generally have half a dozen or more clients that are regulars that I read for during Mercury retrograde cycles. And so I think that this Mercury retrograde started off in kind of an obscure kind of vision, and now once it gets back into Gemini, we will see it actually get itself grounded, and that's when we're going to see a lot of the retrograde activity going on. And
yeah, there's definitely a lot of retrograde activity happening. We've had Neptune go retrograde. We've had all this retrograde stuff. So I think that looking at the retrograde energy, there's a lot of reflection, but there's this Mars that wanting us to move forward. So I think there's a lot of pulling back but moving forward in our life with all these retrogrades and Mars trying to move forward. It's a very weird push-pull that we're kind of going through in our life. You there?
well, that was a retrograde moment.
Yeah, it was a little
Yeah,
one.
I'm here.
I was just saying when you were when you
That
lost.
was
You there?
yeah, I'm here now. It keeps the video feed for you has been completely locked up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been a dead stop. This is really weird. Did you hear any of the stuff I was saying?
No, we lost you, and my computer's the one that it's recording on, so we lost you there for a second.
That is weird.
You were talking about the retrogrades. You were talking about, I think, Mercury retrograde, and where were you going with that?
Well, I think that we just saw a good example of that. It's just like a delayed reaction as Mercury retrograded itself in Cancer and then flips back into to Gemini. As it's moving back into Gemini, we're seeing a lot more intention. And I think that's what this retrograde is going to be. It is going to be that process of intention and resolution. So, you know, your technology, whatever it is, may be getting ready to die, and you know, your car, maybe the battery's about ready to die or something like that. But you're going to find that the final revelation appears, and you'll be able to resolve the problem without a lot of angst and a lot of frustration. So I think it will be a good retrograde period.
Yeah, and what I was saying when you were gone is there's these planets retrograding. You got Mercury, we got Neptune, Chiron's going to go retrograde at the end of this week that we're about to have here. But then there's this Mars trying to triumph and move forward. There's this Jupiter trying to put forward. So there's these subtle, very internal energies that are really reflecting back, yet the reality is trying to blast us forward. It's like, you know, it's like putting your foot on the gas and it's like traffic, but it's actually moving, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just like it's like the Ventura Freeway at about 3:30 in the afternoon. You know, it's not entirely a parking lot, but it's not, you know, it's not race car conditions either. Yeah. You know, David, another thing that popped up in my mind's eye here as I'm looking at the configurations in the heavens right now, because I do have a couple of clients who are trying to have a baby, and this is an ideal period that we have arrived at. We've got Venus this coming week is going to be in a nice tight sextile to Jupiter in Cancer. So we got the earthy, watery energy here. We've got Mars advancing, so you know, the great warrior is ready to spread his seed, as it were, and as he gets through this opposition to Uranus, the unexpected false starts and things like that, I would say that for couples who are thinking about having a child, this could be a perfect time to initiate that journey. So who knows how many people we're going to be talking to 3 or 4 months from now that will in fact have accomplish that goal of fertility, because this is definitely a very fertile cycle that we're in.
Yeah, that Venus sextile Jupiter is going to be a nice feeling. So there's some really good things about this week that are coming our way. Some good feelings, a lot of processing, a lot to be clear on. And really, this is a really nice week. Although, I would say the only maybe difficult aspect is Mars. Mars is in opposition to Uranus. Mars is squaring Pluto. So, maybe there's a part of us that even though we're weighing so many things out and taking action, I think that we're going to have to learn to still be bold, learn that there's got to be some commitment that we got to make, some sort of plans we need to stick on. And I think for people who are a little weird about taking action in their life, it might be a difficult week. You're going to have to put the foot down, even if it's trafficky. And there's a part of us that is internalizing things. You can't be afraid to expand and move forward, even though it is a Mercury retrograde too. There's a part of the universe saying, I don't care, keep moving.
Exactly. Mars is definitely going to start really picking up speed rapidly now. It has been, kind of floundering around after it went direct, and it took a while for it to actually start to show movement. Now we're going to see it start to really accelerate. And Mars, and a lot of people are always talking about how Mars and being in opposition to its natural home in Aries is under a lot of stress or pressure, but I have seen Mars in Libra turn out to be that communicator, that making contact with large groups socially, or with interacting with large groups socially, and motivating people, moving people forward. So I think we may see, even though it's in opposition to Uranus, I think we may see some situations with large movements, with large groups, with organizations that are trying to accomplish things as far as, salvaging some of the mess ups we've had here on the planet. I think we'll see that start advancing now. So I would say social media, social organizations, and things of that sort are going to start getting highlighted too, and start becoming a lot more productive as Mars advances.
Yeah, this Mars advancement's forcing us to move forward, especially in tight angles with Pluto-Uranus, this electric kind of wild card, kind of change the rules, step into your bold self. You still got to be able to do that, Like I'm noticing in other clients and even in my own personal life that even though there's so many things I would love to review or people would love to review, there's this part where it's like, okay, eventually you just got to step on the stage, like we need to hear, like doesn't matter what kind of things there's still to review, there's still a show that must go on, which is kind of, I think, the energy. Like there's still this show that must go on, and there's things that need to still move forward. And we're coming near the end of a long, beginning of the year. I mean, even though it flew by, I can't believe we're halfway through the year. There's a part of it that feels like it's been the same day for a long time. So I think it's this getting prepared here as we're on the final couple weeks of a lot of this energy finally breaking up and finally moving us into a whole nother kind of new segment, if that makes sense, But I still think there's this next month and a half here of a final showdown of Mars and Libra and Jupiter and Cancer, and this show kind of waning off, but it's near the ending of it. So I think it's important to kind of continue on this ride and move forward as you're reviewing, but making sure there's still a forward movement, because with every step backwards, you better take a little bit more forward. It's kind of a weird energy like that.
Exactly, and I think it's going to be, especially the first part of this week, we're going to have the real clear sense of where am I going, what am I doing, as that moon moving through Aquarius is going to first trine Mars, and then it's going to act in sextile to Uranus, then it's going to fire off a nice interaction with the Sun and ultimately Mercury. So the passage of the moon is really going to be kind of the extra element that propels us forward and gives us a greater vision, gives us a stronger sense of, oh, this is where I need to go, this is what I need to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, what else do you got going on for this week? I mean, I'm pretty content with this week, and it'll be a week where it feels like there's, I think, just lots of doors opening. I mean, if we want to do one more fun thing in the astrology, the Sun and Mercury on the end of the week are going to conjunct at 28 degrees Gemini. This will also be trining over to the North Node in Libra, but this will be more importantly at the same position where the Sun and Jupiter did a conjunction last year on June 19th. The same day, the Sun and Mercury did a conjunct. So I asked people in my webinar to go back to June 19th of last year and see what was it that you did then and what events were happening then. And there's a highlight of this area. The universe is definitely doing a funny little joke here. So I would pay attention to where you were in your life, this culmination of this point. I bring that up because I launched the Leo King on June 19th last year. And here's the birthday of the Leo King, and it's boom, same weird position, Sun Mercury, or Sun Jupiter then. And I discussed as well that there will be no Sun Jupiter conjunction in Cancer, which I think is very unique and very rare, to not have the whole sign have a Sun Jupiter conjunct. It didn't happen last year either because the last one happened in Gemini. So, what do you feel about that?
Well, I think this is another way that the universe being orchestrated by a higher level of consciousness is really reinforced in our mind's eye. I don't think that there would be as many just casual elements if there were not a sense of some kind of intention within the universe. So I think this is where we really see that deeper aspect of there is a greater presence within the universe. There are forces that we're striving to attain illumination around, and ultimately, hopefully, go through that process of self-realization where we can finally arrive at that point where we realize that all of this is truly happening within us and by intention. But I think it's moments like this when you can see that there is no chaos in the universe like many pundits would like to have you believe. There is definitely a very precise series of interactions and a very profound dance that is being played out, orchestrated in the natural world around us. All you have to do is go out and look at the night sky. This last full moon in Sagittarius was, for those of us in the northern hemisphere, the southernmost full moon that we will be seeing. And now the next full moon that will be coming up in Capricorn will be higher in the sky. All of these activities, all of these balancing elements, all of this natural ebb and flow is obviously somehow part of an intention that was set into motion at the very dawn of this physical manifestation. So I think, once again, astrology, if you're looking at it just in the mundane level, and you're focusing on, am I going to get rich? Am I going to get laid? Who do I need to watch out for? Is there somebody with a gun chasing me? If that's your focus on astrology, then you're really missing the bigger picture. Because astrology, astronomy, all of the arts, all of the sciences, everything is saying to you, get out there and look at the night sky, look at the forest, look at the ocean, and recognize your connectivity to this and how profoundly beautiful life itself is.
That was beautiful, Chris, and I think you're right. And I think little things like noticing the Sun Jupiter and how it's coming back up again with the Sun and Mercury are those little subtleties and those little things to pay attention to.
Absolutely. And the universe gives us gifts, and I had kind of a neat gift I'm going to highlight that came into me because, we're getting closer and closer to the event in Arizona, and I'm getting out my tribal shirts, my regalia and stuff, getting that freshened up. And one of my clients and good friends that I've known for 15 years now is a very good jeweler, and she made a golden arrowhead for me.
Wow.
And it is a necklace and I will be wearing this in Arizona. So if you want to see me wearing my glam, then you definitely need to think about getting down to Arizona in July for the big event down there.
Big glam man you are.
Well, not normally. So this is going to be you know, quite a bit of a process for me. I'll be flexing my swag, I guess, if there is such a thing. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Anyway,
Yeah, let's
shall
see
we
some cards.
I think so. Let's take a look here. Well, you know, this full moon, interestingly enough, calls upon us on as it flips over, as the moon flips into Capricorn. It's saying, let go of the past. You know, this is the Eight of Cups, leaving behind all of those sorrows, all of those sensations of frustration and guilt, all of the things that we load up on in this journey through life. And you can see the moon is highlighted in this card. It's saying, you know, allow your intuition to lead you away from the sorrows of the past. There's something beautiful on the other side of the mountain. The journey is just beginning. So as we're advancing into the weekend, it's all about release, release, release on Friday. As we hit Saturday and Sunday, look at that, the big Ace of Cups. Love, joy, communication, interaction, sharing yourself without fear of vulnerability, being transparent. And I think it is going to be that kind of a weekend. A lot of people, I think, are going to be able to really experience a new level of emotional range and get past the extreme highs and lows and the shrill experiences they may have been having over the last 6 months. It is a profound period of transition and transformation. We have the Wheel of Fortune. So this full moon is definitely causing us to look at this coming week as a period of positive change, positive advancement. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll see new opportunities arrive. We'll be seeing that fertility I was talking about. It doesn't have to mean having a baby. It can mean starting a new business. It can mean, you know, investing your energies in some kind of process where you're expecting to give birth to your project in 6 months or 6 weeks or 6 years, whatever it takes. As we're moving through the mid part of the week, we have this the other death card in the deck, the Ten of Swords, and it's telling us, you know, once again, don't go back and try to resurrect the old parts of your life that are dead, finished, and over. Again, that idea of Eight of Cups, Ten of Swords, the theme goes back and forth here. Move on, move on, move on. Don't tarry. And by the end of the week, look at this beautiful card here. We have got the Four of Cups, and you can see this individual is contemplating the wonderful things in life that are in front of him, and he isn't aware of the fact yet that something is manifesting right over his shoulder. So by the mid to end part of the week, you may be seeing something become manifest in your life that you've been wanting or desiring or needing, or perhaps even something showing up that you didn't realize was a need that suddenly is filled. So looks like a really nice week for people who are participating with the universe in their day-to-day activities.
Yeah, everything's about moving on. I kept intuitively feeling like no matter what, even though there's things to review, we don't need to review the past anymore. I think that we need to move forward. This is really a signal of go. Just move on to the next placement and keep going. And whatever happened, just throw it under the bridge, you know, water under the bridge and move. You know, the universe is wanting us to move forward, not crazy fast, but definitely move on. And I think the cards really said that. There were really a lot of good cards there. A lot of new kind of energy coming. I think lots of new opportunities are here this week. And I think June was about opening up new doors. And I think July is where we're going to see where these doors all lead.
Absolutely. And as we, I think as we approach the midpoint of summer this year, we're going to really see, because of the distance we have gone, we're going to be able to see truthfully how much we've grown and and what the new directions are that are emerging in our lives. So this is definitely a nice passage, a good week for people to give thanks, because there are some beautiful things arriving in our lives. Be thankful, acknowledge the forces around you and within you for that. And I think by the end of next week, we're going to see a lot of things back on track for a lot of people.
Yes, we are. Well, it was great to talk with you again, Chris, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this week takes us, especially when we come back. We're going to talk about the new moon that's going to be coming up here in Cancer. We're shifting into Cancer, and we got a lot to talk about because this is definitely a July that a lot of us have been waiting for.
Yes, it is going to be a fun ride.
Well, you have a wonderful, wonderful time through the weekend and through the week, and I will catch back up with you next week.
Sounds fantastic. Enjoy there in La La Land.
All righty. I'll talk to you then.
Sounds good.
Bye.